corner store smells like Pall Malls. The cashier wears the same overalls. The cops wash the blood off their hands with the moonshine they took from the moonlight. Dirty South. Hey, 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 yeah. Dirty South. In the dirty South, dirty South. Cars burn into the dark sky. No leads, nobody knows why. Dead bodies in the trees where I get my soul. Dead end roads. Dead end roads lead to the small trails. Headstones from the 1800s. Ghosts lurk till you feel the chill in your spine. In these pines. South, you have raised me. Dirty South, Dixie made me. Dirty South, I love you, but sometimes you hate me. Times you hate me. Dirty South. Hey, 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 yeah. South, dirty South, dirty South.
All right, people. I am on the move today. I am traveling vast miles. But it is Wild Speculation Friday, and you know how I hate to miss Wild Speculation Fridays. Okay, so here we are. So I've been listening, obviously, to the whole Murdaugh, case, and listening to the talking heads, and just kind of following along. Work's been pretty wild and crazy, but I haven't missed not a minute of the trial. I've been there for it. I know it all because I work all day and then I watch it on double time before I go to sleep at night. So today I was listening to it, and I'm just blown away. Now I'm blown away by a lot of things. I think the carryover that it's like daily blowing away is the corruption, the overtones of the good old boys and all of their hidden, below the surface, exploitative, egotistical, narcissistic, the rules don't apply to me and don't ever question me, good old boy club. That it's there. We can hear it. Like when Chris Wilson speaks, you can hear the privilege in his voice. Alec was a big dog, and he was the big dog in the large law firm. He carried 60% of the county cases, and he was settling cases all the time. Some of them were big, giant, multi-million-dollar settlements. Some were a bit smaller, but when you're making as many settlements and as many cases as what Alec was making, you are making bank. You are rolling that crap in, right? So you right there, something weird is happening, and here's what I mean. I got lots of friends that are like surgeons and psychologists that have research positions with large hospitals or MD Anderson or whatever. And trust me, we go, these people they're comfortable. Okay, they're very, very comfortable. Never, not once have I looked at my friends, whether, their houses or the way they dress or the car they drive or where you travel together, go out to eat or anything. Never, not once have I looked at them and thought, oh, they're making so much money. Oh, oh Lord, look at this. Oh Lord. Oh man, that is terrible. Look at that. Oh, these poor people. Look at this. Oh man, that's too bad. Too bad. All right. So not having a fun day, they are. Okay. So it's never occurred to me to look at my friends and count up their dollar signs, even though it's likely that some of my friends are doing very well. Okay. It just doesn't factor in, right? You worry about your own financial situation. You worry about, am I going to have a house paid off when I'm ready to retire? Do I have a 401k? Do I have, money set aside for emergencies? You take care of your own house, but your friendships are not based on an awareness of how much money that they're making. And so I thought, gosh, that's very uncomfortable when he started talking about how impressed he was by Alec and how much he was dominating the legal scene in the county, and that he was getting all the work and he got more than half the work while everybody else had to share the leftovers. And it was just kind of crazy. It was just the whole thing was kind of crazy. So that was one of my big clues that there are some dynamics here that are very strange for this group of people. Now, I think of all the things to take away from today, number one, I think the investigation is a disaster at this point. And there may be a lot of you that, you don't particularly want to hear that. And to be fair, it's upsetting. But can we be honest? I'm afraid that we're looking at another O.J. Simpson problem. I'm afraid that this prosecution has tried to cover every minute, tiny detail, and that has had the net effect of just, giving everybody numb butt cheeks. You know what I mean? And we're at home. We can get up and walk around. We can go get a Diet Coke or whatever. The jury can't. They're stuck, and they're not taking notes. They're just sitting. And when Johnny Depp was in the courtroom, that's Johnny Depp, right? And he's an amusing fellow. And Amber Heard is bizarre. And there was a lot going on in that courtroom to kind of keep people's interest, right? But even then, in that situation, there were jurors that fell asleep during testimony, but because it, began to run a bit long. This thing that's going on, oh my God, in South Carolina, I'm very worried at this point that these jurors are saturated and that they are now numb to the information. That it's almost become like, Charlie Brown's teacher, when they get up on the stand, when the witnesses get on the stand, that they're just hearing wah, 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 right? Just not even really any good comprehension. So, we'll keep our fingers crossed that I'm completely wrong about that, but I'm telling you, prosecution, I think, made some terrible missteps with the evidence. Now, that brings me to the next part of this, and that is the telematics for the car. wow, that's a game changer, right? Up until they were contacted by General Motors and they said, hey guys, how are things going? And they were like, well, not very well, I'm afraid. And they said, well, listen, we were just kind of hanging around and we were watching the trial, and it suddenly occurred to us, hey, I don't think they asked us for the telematics for that car, but I think we can get that for them, because that is, after all, our programming and our encryption. So GM, on their own, as I understand it, they went ahead and pulled the data moment by moment, mile by mile, and turned over all the information to both the prosecution and the defense. The defense is not happy about this. Not a bit. There's a lot of problems. It has created a lot of problems. It, too, has created some smaller problems, I believe, for the prosecution. But I think overall it's more help to the prosecution than it is to the defense. But I think there's a couple things. One of the things that's a big problem for the prosecution is there's not enough time from the time that Paul's phone locks up to the time that Alec is driving away. He doesn't really have enough time to clean, collect the phones, run up to the house, take a shower, change clothes, dispose of the gun and the clothes, and throw the phone out the window, and then go spend 20 minutes with his mother, and then, drive 74 miles an hour to get back to, his house. It's just not workable. I always feel like one of the way that people get away with murder is by messing up their timeline. That, like I think that was one of the things that is a possibility in the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. I think we may have her time wrong, the time of death wrong. I think she may have been gone the day before, as the girls left to go on their trip. I think that maybe that's the day she went missing. So that would certainly explain why you have so many really outdoorsmen, ex-military, and they're all searching and they don't find not one teeny tiny little clue, nothing. How is that possible? Well, if the dirty deed, if everything was done in a completely different location than what they thought happened on the day of the disappearance, they wouldn't find anything. So I kind of think he had maybe some help from family members, perhaps. Or she left. She's a gone girl. She said, I've had enough. My husband doesn't love me. My children disrespect me. And I've had cancer, and I want to live out the rest of my days in Machu Picchu. And so, poot on all y'all, and I'm out of here. Maybe she did. I hope she did. I hope that's what it was. And after all, this is Wild Speculation Friday. And so on Wild Speculation Friday, I get to say things like that. It's not fact-based. It's complete speculation. Okay. Now, so getting back to the Murdaugh case, I wonder about the whole timeline problem. I don't think that he was able to get rid of the guns and such that day, that night. I think that's why he showed up the next morning. I think he stashed the guns there at his mom's house enough just to get through the night. And then when he showed back up the next day and she was like, why the hell is, he out there? That's what he was doing. Maybe he just walked right into the tree line in the woods and buried them. It's hard to know, but I think I do feel like speculating. I think that the whole raincoat, I think he was probably wearing the raincoat when he attacked them. I think he was wearing the raincoat and he caught Paul by surprise. He was crouched down and had that big raincoat on, covering much blackout rifle waiting for him, and he had to go after Maggie. And again, you know, I've shown the video and I stand by it. I think he was very angry with Paul. I think he blamed Paul for everything. But I think with Maggie, his heart was broken. I think he did it, but I think his heart's broken. I think he was regretful of hurting her. I do think it is this new information that we've gotten this week about the drugs. I think it is very interesting that they called Paul the little detective, number one. And I think it is very interesting that Alec Murdaugh claims to have been spending $50,000 a month on pain pills, OxyContin, $50,000 a month on OxyContin for personal use, number one, and that he wrote checks for those drugs. I'm going to tell you, it is damn near impossible to get your hands on an opioid in today's world, unless it's an illegal counterfeit drug, right? But in terms of actual safe pharmaceuticals, the opioids have become, they're on lockdown. I mean, doctors don't want to prescribe, and pharmacists don't want to distribute. And when people do get them, they guard them with their life. You know, they're just not freely available like they, previously were. I think it's interesting too, because Xanax is everywhere. Yet people don't seem to worry too much about that. But boy, they're really afraid of the opioids, getting out. So as he talks about this $50,000 a month habit of OxyContin, and cousin Eddie is getting them for him, I have questions. I'm like Emily Baker. I have questions, damn it. Number one, how in the hell is Uncle Eddie gonna go and find even 10 OxyContins, much less $50,000 worth of OxyContin? I mean, I don't care if you can pay $5,000 a pill. If the pills are not out there to be sold, they're not out there to be sold. You know what I mean? So that is highly suspect. The other thing I have real questions about that I haven't really heard anybody say, talk about, is who in their right mind would be spending $50,000 on illicit pills and write checks? Who would do that? If nothing, look, we know that his wife was looking for the pills, that she was aware of his habit, and the kids were aware of his habit, and they were all trying to stop him from using. Why would he be writing checks when all she has to do is go log into the bank and look at the checks? Why? That is just silly. So again, I think the evidence is that it is just my speculation on Wild Speculation Friday is these things that make Emily Baker say, hold on, I have questions. Hold on, I have questions. I think that's corruption. I think they're lies. I think Alec Murdaugh is still lying. You don't buy $50,000 worth of OxyContin for 20 years, once a month for 20 years and nobody catch on. You certainly don't do it by writing a check when your wife and your adult children are on your trail trying to catch you with pills. It just is not logical. And I want you to put some thought to how many pills is $50,000? Even if it's $100 per pill, which it would never be that much, right? Maybe, I think the most I've ever heard was like maybe $30 a pill, right? No, this is a story that he's invented, I think. And now he may have been addicted to them, don't get me wrong, but more likely that, you know, that they were trafficking the pills. They were dealing them, and he was also using his own supply. So this thing in South Carolina is just shocking. It's truly shocking. And I'm to the point now that I wonder. Now we know Russell, you know, Lafitte is serving time in jail, but now we've got implications from Rogue Consulting. This guy, you know how we always say there's no coincidences in true crime. If there's murder, there's no coincidences, right? Okay, so in the middle of this horrific nightmare of this young man and his mother being gunned down in their own home, at the very same time that Alec Murdaugh is finding their bodies and calling and reaching out to 911 and trying to contact Randy and John Marvin, at the very exact time, Alec is getting messages in a group message with some very cryptic and unusual messaging. But here's the crazier part. Alec is reading them. He's reading his wife and his son are lying dead in their own blood. Their bodies still warm. The cops have not even made it out there. He's literally standing out there alone with just his thoughts and his horror at what's happened to his family. And I guess he thinks, oh, well, you know, while I'm waiting on the ambulance, let me read and see what they're talking about in our group chat. It's crazy, y'all. It's crazy. So the cryptic message was, she brought Miami Heat with her. Isn't that crazy? What in the hell does that mean? All right. So Wild Speculation Friday is just, I'm about to come to the conclusion that the whole damn lot of all those men are in on it. Every one of them. And even though they're in the middle of a double murder trial, they're all hiding the real issues. Now, not to belittle the death of Paul and Maggie, but it does seem like there's more secrets out there that they're all hiding. And did someone else know about the death of Maggie and Paul? Did they know Maggie and Paul would be targeted? What did the attorney tell Alec? I'll burn your house down. I'm coming for you. I'm going to take every dime you have, but I'll let you keep working so you can pay off the judgment regarding the Mallory Beach death, right? But guess what? That man, his case is dead in the water if Paul and Maggie are no longer alive. The minute they died, his case died. Wild Speculation Friday.
The corner store smells like Pall Malls. The cashier wears the same overalls. The cops washed the blood off their hands with the moonshine they took from the moonlight.